Hey everybody, welcome to Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. John Suntress here. I'm closing out August with 2 great episodes. A couple show notes before we get into the show. Listen, I know the commercials can be kind of annoying. Nobody likes commercials. But you know, they pay the bills here at Word Balloon. You want to support the show? Do me a favor, don't fast forward through the commercials because then I don't get paid for them. Just over 50% of the Word Balloon listeners actually listen to the commercials. You know, they're only at the beginning of the show. It would really mean a lot for me if you would listen to them. They only end up being like a minute or 90 seconds long. So thank you for doing that very much. Contact me if you have any questions or comments about the show, john@wordballoon.com. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Facebook, John Wordballoon at Twitter. And also the YouTube channel. Please follow and subscribe to that at Wordballoon. New content coming very soon. All right, without further ado, one more commercial, and then it's time for the show. Hey everybody, welcome back to Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. John Suntress here, welcome to the Labor Day weekend, and got another great show for you today. I released earlier The Strange Origin of Neal Adams. It's not that strange, but it's a pretty interesting story. I hope you check it out. But also I've got The King's Speech live, Tom King. He opened the month for us, and he's closing out the month for us. A great conversation from Terrificon, live on stage. He takes questions from the audience. We had a blast, and I enjoyed this. I always enjoy my conversations with Tom. He's a fun guy. Clay Mann was there as well this weekend. We didn't get a chance to get Clay on the air, but I would love to have Clay on and talk about things on Word Balloon. Of course, Clay was the Heroes in Crisis artist and has also done other collaborations with Tom. Tom gearing up for Strange Adventures, Adam Strange. Great stuff with Mitch Gerrits and Doc Shaner helping him out on that. Of course, he's gearing up for the New Gods movie. Very exciting about that, writing that. And of course, Batman. We're in the midst of City of Bane. He's going to be in January moving over to the Batman Catwoman book to close out his story. It's going to be an interesting 2020 for Tom, but things are exciting right now for him, and it's a pleasure to talk to him live and take questions from the audience. The King's Speech live on today's Word Balloon. Brought to you by the League of Word Balloon listeners. Thank you, League, for your great support. As we wrap up August, the Patreon patrons are helping me out greatly. Word Balloon is free, but if you enjoy what you hear and you can afford it, and is Word Balloon worth $1 a month? Is it worth the price of a comic book a month to you? If you think so, if you want to help out the cause, go to patreon.com/wordballoon or go to my front page of wordballoon.com and click on the Patreon ad. That will take you to the Patreon site. Thank you greatly for your support, League of Word Balloon listeners. Word Balloon also brought to you by Aftershock Comics. They're having a great year, the year of reading dangerously. We've been talking to some amazing Aftershock creators throughout the year about their books. People like Phil Hester with his book Stronghold, and Tim Seeley with Dark Red. Cullen Bunn is due to come back and talk about Night Temporal, but we've also talked to him about the Brothers Dracul and Dark Ark. Great stuff from him. We also talked to Donnie Cates just a couple weeks ago at Terrificon about Baby Teeth. I want to talk to Marguerite Bennett about Animosity. I want to talk to Joe Pruitt about his horror anthology Shock, to name just a few books. Matthew Klickstein's You Are Obsolete. They all sound like great books, the ones that I haven't had a chance to talk about yet. And, that's kind of the hallmark of what Aftershock brings us. Great genre-bending stories, great ideas from the top creators. In the weeks ahead, we'll be having more conversations with Aftershock creators about their books. But you don't have to wait. Go to their website. You'll find full story descriptions, preview pages, and the diamond codes on these books to order through your local shop at AftershockComics.com. All right, without further ado, let's get into it. A live King's Speech, Tom King on stage at Terrificon. It's the last Terrificon panel that I've presented from this year's show. We're already talking about what we're going to do next year. Pretty exciting stuff. And happy to share this conversation with you live on stage with Tom King. He actually started things off by asking me how Word Balloon got started. So I did, for the audience, give the description of how Word Balloon got underway. So let's pick it up with the King's Speech live at Terrificon on Word Balloon. In 2005, Wired Magazine wrote this amazing piece about podcasting. This is the new thing. And I'm an old radio guy. and I wasn't doing what I wanted to do in radio, which essentially is Word Balloon. I mean, not only from a content standpoint, but just being able to do a talk show. And I'm like, I gotta get in on that. So in May of 2005, I started Word Balloon. But there was like Comic Geek Speak. I was telling you last night, Augie DeBleek was doing Pipeline.
Yeah, I listened to all those.
Collected Comics Library, my buddy Chris Marshall.
Oh yeah, and the indie one that was
Indie Spinner Rack, yes. Yeah. And Lena Dunham, I Read Comics. She was great, and she literally was one of the pioneers of comic book podcasting. And she stopped pretty early on, and I was always bummed. I'm like, hey, you're good. What are you doing? So anyway. Enough about me. You guys came to hear the King's Speech, right? So that's what I call it whenever Tom's on a guest on my show.
But that was the start of my coming back to comics, was podcasting.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
we all had that. Did everyone have a period where, like, in between, where you read as a kid and then you stopped for a while and you came back? Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. About 80% of the room. And so I was the same way. Although good writing brought me back, and he's a classic example. But this was a couple of years before that. But yeah, when like Bendis and Kevin Smith was doing Daredevil, and Brubaker and Rucka were doing Batman back then. That's what kind of brought me back to comics.
Yes, I was overseas in like the Afghan, Pakistan sort of places, and whatever gig we were doing was like a lot of action and then a lot of waiting and a lot of action and a lot of waiting. So you had those, and it was like a psychological test because you were stuck in sort of a place that was, if you left, they'd shoot you. So you had to sort of not go crazy during the wait period, and that's when because iTunes had just revamped and put podcasts on. That was the big.
That's right
for me. We didn't have to go to a website because back then you didn't trust websites because websites would kill you or something.
But you're.
But you trusted iTunes. iTunes wasn't going to kill you.
That's true.
So you would download it from iTunes, and I was like, and I looked up because when the internet first broke, we're so old, John.
I know, but I'm even older.
Okay?
Yeah, Jesus. Yeah, I mean, I got like 15 years on here.
Right? Oh, you're really old. Oh,
I am really old.
But yeah, like when the internet first came out, like when I was in college, so I went to college in the late 90s, and I remember like the first thing I was Googling was comic books.
Oh, cool.
When they had those old and I remember being incredibly disappointed because
really,
yeah, I didn't know how to do the message board, just looking at general websites like before Newsarama, before
sure.
And I was like, oh, this is not as cool as I thought. Because I'd been out of comics like 3 or 4 years, but I wanted to sort of, and so then I just kind of gave up on it. It wasn't until I saw podcasts to listen because I was so bored out there in the freaking boondoggle.
Well, I'm glad we can entertain you, man. Absolutely. Everybody say hello to Tom King.
Oh, hi.
Got to give them the proper introductions. I mean, this is literally how our podcasts usually go. My podcast is called Word Balloon. If you don't know, it's wordballoon.com.
It's the best podcast in the world. Just go listen to it. It's wonderful.
He's nice. But no, really, Tom was once, his novel, Once a Crowded Sky, he's like, hey man, I wrote this.
Once Crowded Sky.
Once Crowded Sky.
Jesus Christ.
I'm so sorry. I was reasonably close. My good buddy, Tom Fowler, our good buddy Tom Fowler drew it. And he's like, yeah, I drew this novel, and the guy really wants to come on your show. I'm like, sure. I met him at New York.
Tom
New York Comic Con. Oh. That's when we first met. You're like, oh man, I really want to. I hope you like the book. I'm like, okay, cool.
We'll talk. I think this is the first time I saw you. I feel like I stalked that before. Then I think I was at like a Baltimore Comic Con. I heard your voice.
Oh no, kidding.
The voice of Suntress, like God dropping from above.
Please.
And I was like, I kind of followed you because that was my nerd even more than because the way I would read comics when I came back in the mid 2000s, like you said, when there was this new wave of Bendis and Brubaker, and Vaughn and all that stuff. I read comics by ordering, it was $133 exactly per month from Amazon.
Wow.
And the trades, because trades were 40% off or something. And if there are any store owners out here, I'm so sorry. And I see one right there.
Hey.
But I would buy all my trades from Amazon, and the way I would sort of keep up with comics culture is I would listen to comics podcasts that would read all the comics
and tell you what they're
and tell me like what happened that Wednesday, and sort of what I fanboy around comics.
It's true.
Comic Geek Speak, Augie DeBleek.
Yes.
And yours is different because you had an interview podcast.
Yeah, I didn't want to do reviews because I'm like, well, who cares what I think of the book? If I like a book, I'm going to have the creator on, and then we'll talk about the book. But I don't want to be like, I didn't like that X-Men comic. It's like, who cares? Shut up.
Your podcast was the one I listened to when I was going through foreign airports.
Wow.
So I would be in some very bizarre country and you'd be like, "Oh, am I going to blow up because this plane's so terrible?" And I would have you. I just remember you and Jeff Johns for some reason.
Oh yeah, Jeff used to.
07.
When Jeff had time.
Yeah,
he doesn't have time. You guys know, and I'll fill you in if you don't know. Tom's background prior to writing and stuff, CIA agent in the field, and
excuse me, I was a CIA officer.
Officer, see, man, I'm going to blow this the entire.
You're an FBI agent. You're an FBI special agent because they have to be so special. But
CIA
I was
officer.
a CIA officer. Parentheses, not special.
But in in Iraq, and I mean in the theaters of war. My God.
Yeah, I spent about 4 or 5 months in Iraq, and then a year in the after-pack border. And in between, then I was going all around the world.
Man, and one of his great Vertigo books, Sheriff of Babylon. A wonderful book and everything.
Yeah, those 4 people that read it fucking.
Oh, please.
Do you know they teach that at West Point? That's my brag.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's on West Point Reading 101.
That's wonderful.
Maybe it's no longer there, but the professor reached out to me about 2 years ago and was like, "I just want you to know that I teach this at West Point. I teach your book to the new cadets." And I was like, "Oh, I've conquered the world."
Yeah, that's incredible, man. So, when did you know you wanted to write comic books?
Since I was the littlest of kids. I don't know, since I first picked one up.
Really?
I don't know. Yeah,
Do you remember what your first early comic books were? What were you reading early on?
100%, yeah. So my first comic book was Avengers 300, which is a terrible issue, but I love it to death. But it's written by Walter Simonson, and Walter Simonson is the best person in the history of comics, and even he says it's a terrible issue. Drawn by Buscema. It's most famous.
Sal or John?
John.
Wow. Still, either one of them.
Inked by Tom Palmer, so it looks more.
Wow.
Tom Palmer and John Buscema. Wow.
Great. Yes. Tom Palmer, one of the best anchors in the business. Absolutely.
I have 3 of the pages up in my bathrooms.
Wow.
Yeah. If you ever see a page from Avengers 300, call me, because I've found 3 of them in the wild. And I had almost conniptions when I was like, "Oh my god!" And the guy, I think the guy could have charged me like $5,000, and I would have yes. So
wow.
Like, oh, whatever. Anyway, so Avengers 300, I got it in the traditional way my generation got comics, which is my mother stopped to get smokes, and
that was my father. I get it. Believe me, my dad was the same way.
And so, and I just felt guilty and threw a comic at me. And it was, it's an Inferno crossover issue. It has the fucking nanny in it, who's the craziest fucking character of all time.
For kids.
Oh, sorry, kids. The word "fuck" means important.
Yeah. Now,
You can
Tom
look it up.
Swear, he'll explain it to you. That's the beauty of Tom.
The Avengers lineup is Gilgamesh, Mr. Fantastic, and Invisible Girl,
My God.
Thor, and the Captain. Not even Captain. Steve Rogers, the Captain.
Oh, in the black Captain America.
So it was like everything, because you grow up in the cartoons, you kind of know what the general rules are. Like these are none of the rules. Like
It's true.
and I loved it. And in the back, the back matter had a listing of every single Avengers with a little Buscema. Just a little head
Like
sketch.
a thumbnail head sketch?
Thumbnail head sketch, and what issues they were in.
Cool.
For it was the 300th issue, and for me it was I don't know, like opening the Bible or something. It was like, oh my God, like the truth is out there,
Isn't it interesting though? That was a 300th issue, and yet it was mid-story. I'm assuming.
Yeah, it was the culmination.
Or was it the climax of it? Well, because they used to do that.
It was a culmination of it was a reforming of a new team because the Avengers had broken up in 290. This was really nerdy, guys.
That's all right. Well, these people hate all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's
No,
all right.
the Avengers had broken up in two. I could fucking quote fucking word and verse from the Tom Palmer event. It's not the Tom Palmer event because he was the inker, but like we went from Sal to John and. There are a lot of different artists, but it all looks like Tom Palmer. When Tom Palmer inks, it just looks like Tom Palmer.
Sure.
And it went from Roger Stern was writing it for a long time. I think Englehart did a few issues in there, and then it ended up being Simonson for a while, and Simonson hated it, so then he bounced. And it was, and it just went. It was a tumultuous. But I didn't know. I thought it was all part of the plan.
Sure.
And yes, the Avengers had just. This is the Avengers 300 Spotlight panel, guys. That we showed up for.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we'll be talking about for the next hour.
Yeah, they had just broken up and they were coming back together to fight the Inferno, which is an event that made no sense, where fucking mailboxes turn into demons and ate your hand. And I just fell in love with that comic. I must have read it 30 times just in a week.
Outstanding.
Over and over and over again.
Well, I mean, and you might know what led to Batman and everything. Sheriff of Babylon, one Time Warp. You had a great sci-fi story.
That was my first published comic book, was Time Warp, yeah. Which I just tried to make into a TV show.
Hey, awesome.
Yeah, they rejected it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh well. You got a couple irons in the fire. I know that. We've been talking about that lately. And of course, and I hope people have questions about it. Tom is working, as I'm sure you know, on the New Gods movie. Pretty amazing.
I was writing on the train yesterday.
Wow.
Yeah, I hope I get it right.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
I was at lunch just now at the sushi place, which is over there, and I was talking to Clay Mann, who's my genius artist on many things, and I was like, here's this action scene I have to work, and Clay was working with me, and halfway through he's like, if this makes it to the fucking screen, I better get a check. And I'm like, nope.
So I'm sure I hope you all have questions, but I mean, obviously you can tell Tom and I can talk and fill an hour without worrying about anyone asking, but
mostly
please.
it's with the old movies.
So, yes, we'll be talking about old movies as well.
We always end up talking about Bing Crosby.
Yeah, that's true. We do end up talking about Bing Crosby. I guess we should just dive in. This epic Batman story that, as you said, is going to take 100 issues to fully tell.
Yeah.
I mean, and really, it's funny. I talked to Donny Cates a couple hours ago, and he was talking about, don't follow, like Jason Aaron on a book. And you had a similar issue because Scott Snyder certainly was, making his mark with Batman. And, and also you were kicking ass at Marvel with Vision. So that was kind of an interesting time where, certainly you had already kind of established yourself in Marvel. You tell this incredible, epic Vision story. I always said it reminded me of like a great Ray Bradbury or Outer Limits, or Straczynski was just here, Twilight Zone kind of story.
Jamin. I can't say his last name.
Straczynski.
I asked JMS.
Yeah, JMS.
Do you know, I did the most asshole thing once to JMS.
What'd you do?
Is he still in the room?
No, he left. He doesn't. Yeah.
So before when I decided to become a writer, we're just jumping around answering.
Yeah. Oh no. And
so I would do iFanboy, the podcast I was doing. I was writing my novel and I was taking care of my kids, but I was like, I'm going to write something every day that somebody sees, just to get myself out there. And I wrote comic book reviews on the iFanboy website.
Oh wow!
And not for them. It was unsolicited. They did like a thing where they would just list comic books and you could just post what you thought.
Oh sure.
Yeah, you're in a comment section.
Yeah. No, but that's a great way to kind of engage the community and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. So I would write. So I read this JMS book and it was like Shield #1 and I hated it. Don't tell him he's a genius. And I was such a fucking little asshole. An asshole is the back of your butt.
Thank you.
And so I wrote this whole review on why I hated it. And then at the end of the review, it was like, I hated this review so much that if you look back at it, I didn't use the letters J, M, or S in it. It was so hard not to use. But I spent like 2 days writing a whole review not using the letters J, M, or S. Because I thought that was so clever. S is the hard one because is. When you lose is, you lose a lot of fucking words.
It's a very common letter, absolutely.
J was okay, get rid of J, but S and not.
That's why there's so many of them in Scrabble. I understand.
Because you lose is and am, so you're like, oh man, that's a lot of the to-be verbs. Anyways, that's what a fucking little asshole I was. A little asshole is a smaller version of it.
How hard was it back then to pitch, before we get to Batman, the Vision story over at Marvel? I mean, that's great. There's not necessarily an A-level character at all. And you have this incredible story about him and his family. And wanting to create a family.
So the way the Vision happened was I was doing a book called Grayson over at that was with Tim Seeley, the brilliant.
So Grayson was before Vision? I guess it was.
Yeah, Grayson. So
I forgot about that.
The order of my career was I wrote the novel, big flopping failure, but got some good reviews. It's available for $0.01. I recommend you buy it for less.
Where is it available for $0.01? Like if you buy it used?
Yeah. No, it's not even used. No, because they scrapped it. It sold so few copies.
So like if someone were to go on Amazon and find it, it's only
it's only a penny. Yeah, and you can.
That's insane. You should totally buy it if you haven't read it.
The funny thing, you have to pay shipping because that's how they get you.
Well, all right.
But the funny thing is you can tell the scrapped copies because they put a little mark on them. If you look at the bottom,
like a remainder book.
Yeah. So when people bring them to sign to me, I can always check and be like, "You paid a penny for this." I know how much this cost you. This big hardcover. So that sold nothing. So that was a big flop, and it was even worse because it got good reviews, right? So I was like, okay, when the soft cover comes out, because all the reviews will be on, and it'll be nice, and at least it'll be like in Barnes and Noble, and it'll be on the shelf. But Barnes and Noble and my publisher were having a fight at that time. It was like a 3-month period, and Barnes and Noble didn't. It was from Simon & Schuster, so Barnes and Noble didn't stock Simon & Schuster for 3 months, and my book was sort of sacrificed.
That's a huge publisher. That's not like Jimmy's Books or anything like that.
It was crazy. Yeah, so my book did not get stocked at Barnes and Noble.
Oh my God, that's horrible.
Yeah.
Jesus.
That came first, and then
and you showed that. I remember Paul Evans, right? Didn't you like kind of?
I sent it to Paul Evans. He hated it.
Former publisher at DC.
Paul Evans was a friend of my mother's because my mother's a studio executive, and so that was the only person in comics I knew. And so I sent it to him, and he sent me a letter back saying, "I don't think this business is for you, kid."
Now what you want to hear from one of DC's great writers.
It was a no holds bar, like, I better stop this kid before he goes off on the wrong path.
Have you seen him since?
Yeah, we're friends, I know him. I don't know if I've told him that story, but like we were at the Eisner this year, and he won an Eisner. He got in the Hall of Fame Eisner, and I won before. And so I wanted to, so he was right, like, I was right next to him, so I'm like, boom, 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 boom. And then you put your little fucking note right there. Hey, Paul. I guess this happened, Like, what are we going to do about this situation? But Paul's been incredibly nice to me since then.
Well, that's good.
And I think honest appraisal, because I love that book, and I think I think honest appraisal is good appraisal.
Of course.
It makes you try to read it.
Sure.
And the fact that he took time to read it and write it was very kind. So that came first, and then that book, thanks to Cliff Chang, he was nice enough to give me the emails of every address at DC. He was working at DC on Wonder Woman then, and I met him because I was going to hire him before Fowler. This was very complicated, but and I sent it to all the editors at DC, probably like 20 editors or something. In each one, I wrote them the note how they're my favorite editor. I was like, I've never read a book as good as, what does he edit on Wikipedia?
Angel and the Ape.
Angel and the Ape, yes. I love how you used both things have an A in them. And but no one responded except Karen Berger, the founder of Vertigo, who brought in like Neil Gaiman and Grant Morrison. I mean, Len Wein had a lot to do with that too, but Len and Karen.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, Len found Alan Moore and sort of.
Well, yeah, no, I realize that, but I mean, did he help like get you over there, or are you just
No. Len, I'm giving Karen credit for all this. Yeah, Len and Karen were.
Yeah, but like, I mean, you're right, and yeah, she did start as Len's assistant, but Karen's got like literally one of the best critical eyes as an editorial.
No, there's no. I feel
if not the best. Yeah, I mean, current comics.
Like Jason Aaron. Yeah, I mean, like
yes. Well, and I mean,
Dennis,
Brian Azzarello. I mean,
Scott
Snyder, sure. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, Vertigo. Yeah, I mean, Karen Berger, as you know, I'm sure. Vertigo was her baby, and then now she's doing great stuff at Dark Horse.
Yeah, and she's brilliant.
Brilliant.
Yes. So I would never career without her. She gave me my first break, which was an 8-page story in Time Warp. And that got me. The editor of that wanted to hire me for Grayson, and they're like, no, that's a stupid idea. Because I'd been in the CIA, so like, spy book, Grayson, whatever.
Right.
And then they teamed me with Tim Seeley. And Tim could have been like, who's this guy who's never in comic books?
Sure.
Because Tim was established, but instead Tim was incredibly friendly, incredibly welcoming, and sort of taught me the ropes on how to write. Tim Seeley and Tom Fowler were the two people who taught me how to write comics.
That's awesome, and I'm not surprised. I'm from Tim's base Chicago and stuff, and yeah, Tim is another guy that it's always nice to hear that people that have made it can then extend a helping hand, and Tim's definitely that kind of guy.
Tim. And Tom too. Tom Fowler was a guy.
Wonderful artist.
I still think every time I write a comic book, the lessons Tom Fowler talking about comics.
That's excellent. Yeah. Wow. Damn. So again, yeah, great. I mean, Grayson. I mean, and there's a book that maybe shouldn't have succeeded as far as the pitch. It's Robin. It's Dick Grayson, but he's not going to be in the suit. He's going to be a super spy.
Everybody hated it so much.
What? Well, yeah. Most beloved hero. Honestly, I think even more so than as far as a certain generation that grew up on the Wolfman Perez Titans and Nightwing and stuff. Everybody loves Dick Grayson. Dan DiDio tried to kill him in Infinite Crisis, and thank God, all the other creators like, are you nuts? And I mean, again, you mentioned Jeff Johns. Just like if there's one beloved character in the DC universe that not only by fans but also by the heroes, it's Dick Grayson. Everybody trusts and loves Dick Grayson. But Nightwing, and then you take him out of the DC universe. He's working covertly as a spy, as Grayson, and who knew? And all of a sudden, we're all like, "This is an awesome book." In a field, frankly, of a lot of misfires from DC at the time, Grayson was one of the exceptions.
Well, he was at the time, no longer, but at the time he was my favorite character in comics. I mean, if you look at my novel is about two characters, and one's a Captain America and one's Dick Grayson. So I was super excited to be on that book. But I wrote Nightwing 30, the first issue for the close of Nightwing, and I was like, your whole life you're waiting, you think you're Alan Moore, and you're like, this is it, I'm rewriting comics, and the reviews came out, and people fucking hated it. Oh my god! I remember just being up in the middle of the night and turning to my wife and being like, "Oh my god, I had no idea I was a bad writer. Why didn't anyone tell me before I gave up my other career?"
When did people turn around on Grayson? Because it became a critical darling. I don't know how well it sold, but honestly, I know all the podcasters were all like, "This is a great book," and it's like, "Yeah, I know," and all the critics are like, "This is a great book."
It was all Seeley. It was Seeley's number one. I mean, he wrote the script for him. I think there was like 7 words of mine in that script, and he wrote just a very fun, action-oriented script. And Mikhail Khadim, who I still work with to this day, so we worked together for 5 continuously since that issue number 1. Or I guess he did some of the third with 1930 even. I think that the combination of those two guys, it was Tim and Mikhail, turned that book into an actual cool. Because anyone who comes to Grayson was like, this is a dumb concept. Dick Grayson is a spy. Tim and I would sit up and everyone, I thought I'd hate this, but I didn't. I was like, woo, low expectations.
Hey man, you're right. So did Marvel say, "Hey, if you want to do anything for us?" I mean, what?
Yeah, so that became like a mini hit. Like it had some
Grayson
buzz in it, and I was doing sort of weird experimental things within the issues of Grayson. My first issue I wrote backwards. It was a backwards issue and had a puzzle in it.
Yep.
My second issue was an anti-guns issue, so I'm glad I fucking solved that. And so Marvel approached me and they're like, "We have the perfect book for you," and I was like, it's Winter Soldier. Of course,
sure.
Yeah, it's going to be this. I'm a spy, ex-spy. So I was just waiting. I was like, okay, Winter Soldier. They're like, no, this is the perfect book, just up your alley, your favorite. And I was emailing like, it's Vision. And I was like, wow, that's like the beige of superheroes.
Hilarious. Really? Interesting.
Yeah, I was an Avenger, like I said, I was a diehard Avengers fan, but I had no opinion. Vision's like just the guy who's on the team. He just fills in
emotionless robot, cyborg.
Yeah, but you don't tell me I did that, so you're like, oh, Vision, he's always been my favorite character. Because, the secret to writing is lying. So, and the guy's like, really? Nobody said that before. And I was like, yeah, because he fucking sucks. Like, yeah, man, I've always wanted to write Vision. Send. Because I was at Marvel, I just wanted to work at Marvel. So, and then the pitch was, they're like, well, what do you want to do? And I was like, you don't want to say the wrong things. You don't know if you just want to you just tell me what you're so desperate just to write, so you don't have to write fucking reviews without JMS in them anymore. So you're like, you're trying to see. I was like, whatever you want me to write, I'll write. Whatever you want. Vision porn, let's do it. I don't fucking care.
Vision porn.
Yes. But you're like, so you're looking for hints, but you don't want to sound like you don't have any ideas.
Sure.
So you're like, well, give me a genre because I'll just pick anything. And they're like, sci-fi. So I'm like, sweet. So I was like, I'll do Vision as Doctor Who. I didn't know Silver Surfer was already doing this because I was a poor researcher. But I was like, Vision as Doctor Who, going, we'll have adventures. And then like, yeah, sci-fi, but not in space. And then I'm like, what the fuck is sci-fi not in space? And then I was like, I didn't know what it was. I was like, what's sci-fi not in space? I was like, kind of like Frankenstein. I was like, oh, that's cool. He makes a wife like Frankenstein's. I'm a big old movies fan.
Sure, of course.
Wife of Frankenstein's a big. So I was like, oh, that's cool. And I was like, oh, but that actually is just. So I was like, what to make this unique? And I was like, how about he has kids? And I was like, oh, that's cool. That's, at least a different take.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you get to the point in the picture, you're like, oh, that's kind of fucked up. A guy making his wife and kids and building a family for himself. I was like, that's cool. And then I was, Daryl, a mutual colleague of ours.
Oh, Daryl Taylor?
Yeah, and Daryl's like, so what do you got for this vision thing? And I was like, it's vision, but he makes his own family, and then it's a comic about them. And he's like, that sounds stupid. It sounds...
That's hilarious.
Because when you say that, you get this idea of like a sitcom in your head, of like the Small Wonder. You get Small Wonder in your head.
God forbid.
Right? So, and then I literally immediately scrolled back just so I could be cool from Daryl. Like, yeah, but it's Breaking Bad and it drives him crazy and turns into a villain. Just to impress him, just like literally to my friends. My friend is like, that sounds cool. So that became my pitch.
Wow, because man, I'll tell you, did Janine do that original cover where we see them like a nuclear family, like a Cleavers or the Cunninghams or whatever, and they're in front of their house and it's all robots. It's all androids.
Yeah, so that's
was that Janine?
No, that was
very suburban.
Mike Del Mundo.
Oh, okay, yeah, man. No, that's
really Canadian, the best cover artist I've ever worked with. Mike Del Mundo.
I'm not surprised because seriously, that's what I'm like. Oh, this is interesting, and that's funny. The other things that you mentioned, because I'm like, like Frankenstein or even Small Wonder. But no, my head really immediately went to like black and white Outer Limits and classic Ray Bradbury. Robot decides to like make his own family, and then things go horribly wrong.
And then I wanted to, so I was doing Omega. Omega Man was going on at that time.
Of course,
it was a big failure. This is a tour of.
Isn't that interesting though? Because it didn't sell well, but I think now people really do look back at it and say, that was one of those submarine books that should have gotten a lot more attention, and I think people do laud it.
And so what I wanted to do with Vision was I was like, this is I talked to Snyder about this, and then I was like, why is everything failing? Why? And I was like, Snyder's book always failing. I was like, because he would set up the stakes in the very beginning. I noticed in all his books, like in the very beginning, like, the whole world's blowing up, and then we sort of back out from there, So I was like, I want to do the Vision. So then I was like, okay, well, I'm going to add some narrative like they do, like Neil Gaiman does, where he like starts a story with at the end of this story, someone's going to die. And then I was looking for a narrative voice, and I watched the Andersons, or the Tragedy of the Andersons, the Orson Welles' second movie.
The Andersons?
Magnificent
Andersons. I didn't hear him say Orson Welles. There you go. Nice going. Another film buff.
And so that starts out with a famous opening, and so I stole that voice, combined it with Neil
sure.
Gaiman's, and that became the captions.
Oh, wow. You see, Tom, honestly, if you weren't revealing this stuff, I wouldn't have picked up on that it was Orson Welles kind of voiceovers, which we were literally just talking about last night.
Right, so
that's insane. That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So that's how Vision came about, and that made my career. Vision was
good Lord, absolutely, man. No, we hung on every issue. God, they were even doing those special director's cut issues where all the back matter and stuff, and going over your script and all that.
Marvel was really sweet because they knew they sort of had something special, which they don't always do, and they reprinted an issue of it in a Deadpool versus Spider-Man, which I still sometimes sign. And which, Vision itself would sell nothing because who's going to buy a Vision book? Because again, beige superhero. But people like Deadpool and Spider-Man, so they read Vision in the back of that, and that's what sort of caught it on.
I remember that absolutely, man. No, that's fantastic, and I imagine it was a difficult decision, or maybe it wasn't. Tell me, because again, then all of a sudden the opportunity to come to DC when you're having this amazing success at Marvel. This is the hot book of the moment, and you are like, Tom King, good Lord, look at this book and everything. What else could he do in the Marvel universe?
My buddy CK is out there. If you've seen him, he's this big guy here. He's the basis of Chris Kazicki in the Vision comic. So he was with me the weekend this happened. So he'll tell me everything's wrong. So Marvel, and so it's nice to be hot. Oh my goodness.
No, I would imagine.
So two companies were sort of both wanted me to work for them. And Marvel said, here's the books on the table, and DC said, here are the books on the table. And the book DC was offering is Batman. And we were like, Chris and I hung out in Boston for a weekend, we're like, I don't know what to do, this or that. And he'd be like, just take fucking Batman, what are you crazy?
Really?
Batman.
Can you reveal what the Marvel books were that they were offering? Or if you can, it's okay.
Yeah, no, I was going to Fantastic Four.
That would have been cool.
Yeah.
Maybe cool someday.
I was going to do with Walter, who did Vision with me. We were going to do a trilogy of books.
Sure.
We were going to do so. It's going to be Vision, Fantastic Four, and then I think Power Pack. We were going to do like
interesting.
3 family series, like a family trilogy.
Absolutely.
Looking at the family. So that was the original plan. And I was like, and I was telling CK out there, I was like, but you understand, I have this beautiful vision of how this can be, and it'll be artsy and fartsy, and this, and these, like 100,000 people buy Batman every day. Fucking Batman. He's like, I know your wife. She'll kick you in the balls if you don't do this.
But again, following a hot run isn't always a gimme. And I mean, God, I know when Kevin Smith left Green Arrow, everyone was, like, God, who's going to follow that? And luckily, Brad Meltzer, novelist, is like, I'll do it. And obviously, everyone's like, exactly. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
So you never know. But like I was saying, even Donny Cates, I don't know if I want to follow Jason Aaron on, Doctor Strange. And he obviously did a great job too. But yeah, so Batman, yeah. I mean, I get it on paper, but
it wasn't particularly hard following Snyder. That was not at least not to me, the challenge. Because to me, people, this is comic history stuff, but Snyder just went and started writing All-Star Batman. He didn't leave the title. He just my title continues over here.
That's true.
And which is similar to what I'm doing right now.
With Batcat,
Batcat. So I wasn't following Snyder, I was just picking up a book while Snyder was also writing.
Okay.
To me, the challenge was following Frank Miller. I think that was the big challenge.
I would imagine, yeah.
Because it was, not that I put myself in the same sentence as him, but the idea of, we talked about this before, but the idea that Frank in year one, DKR, to me, wrote the perfect Batman stories. If you think of a platonic ideal of what a Batman story is, it's fucking, if you want an old Batman, DKR. If you want a young Batman, those are just, they're perfect. They are perfect stories. And you will never, I can write the best Vision story. That's not a challenge. Even the best Dick Grayson story is not that hard, but the best Batman story, I can't do it. You're like, it's like when calculus, when you approach infinity, but you never get there, It's just, you'll never get to Frank Miller. And that was almost, it still to this day haunts me. It's still, every time 4 issues go by, Batman, I think, well, I just wrote 4 issues, that's how much room Frank got to write year one. Did I do year one? No, fuck you, Tom. It's like...
I think what impresses me about your Batman run is, with the beginning, with I Am Gotham, it started as this very simple, well, at least it felt like it was a simple story, the initial arc. And then each succeeding arc got deeper and darker and crazier and went into these weird directions. I Am Arkham, I Am Bane, all that, was happening. And then, leading to the romance with Catwoman. And, and by the way, folks, obviously, if you are, start throwing up hands if you have questions, because I do want to involve you guys in the conversation. Again, Tom and I can go on forever, but it was this very intricate story. And even in the midpoint of 50, which I know is a hot button for a lot of people.
What? I hadn't heard that.
And Tom, you and I would be on the podcast, and I'm like, Tom, I don't want you to spoil. I like my Christmas presents on Christmas morning, but that said, something's got to happen here. I'm like, there's no way in the hell DC is going to let Batman marry Catwoman. We all know. I mean, going back to Hush. And what Jeff Loeb and Jim Lee were able to do, we know that the spark is there, but it's like, married? Are they going to really let them get married? And again, every subsequent arc, the fun with Lois and Clark, and then going to the amusement park and having some great deep character moments for all four of them, discussing all this, and Joelle getting the beautiful design for the Catwoman dress. I mean, and then of course the retailers, the parties and stuff. But yeah, I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't. And again, I'm not saying like I'm any genius. I'm just like, I don't know. And yeah, then 50 happens. It's your story, so you knew what was going to happen. But like the way that it was marketed and stuff, obviously, were you like, oh no, don't do that, because please don't do that, because I'm about to pull the rug out from under everybody. And I mean, I heard the stories. I'm sure you guys did too. There were stores where people were dressing up like for the wedding.
Yeah, it was a midnight release.
Yeah, man.
I think you and I, John, have read too many comic books and seen too many TV shows.
Yeah.
And, we grew up on Moonlighting and even Friends. We're not that old, but like the idea that when Ross and Rachel finally hook up, it's kind of boring.
Well, right. The next day, it's like, all right, now what? You mentioned Moonlighting. That's David and Maddie. Absolutely, man. Sybil Shepherd and Bruce Willis. Oh, they're finally together. Okay, now what? I mean, God, even I Dream of Jeannie. When Tony married Jeannie and stuff, it's like, all right, no.
So it was like, so to me, it was always like, okay, this is the halfway point in this story.
Yeah.
And I had planned Batman like I would do a 12-issue series, but I planned it in 25 issues in a 4-issue chunk. So in the first 25, we sort of established who Batman is, my Batman, some similar stuff. In 25 through 50, he climbs into the happiness, and in 50 through 75, he falls into the sadness, and 75 through 100, he climbs back to happiness. And so it was a little like chart.
Yeah, man. But ambitious being that long as well.
Yeah, well, since it's twice monthly, so
Fair enough.
that makes
True.
a difference. So I knew it was so I knew it was 3 years, just 3 years. So I knew, and Batman's in my contract, so so I knew I'd be on Batman for 3 years. So I knew I had 100 issues.
That's cool.
Which goes back to that Fantastic Four thing we were talking about before, right? So so that was sort of my original plan, and. But to me, I didn't think people would. I thought I'd always be like, will they, won't they? That's what I always thought it would be. But it was marketed as they will. Aren't you excited? And I fucking regret that. If you look back on my Twitter and my thing, that's not coming from me. You can.
No, it was the company. I mean, it was the company again, and they did the same thing with Green Arrow and Black Canary on obviously a much smaller scale because it was Green Arrow and Black Canary. But yeah, man, no, it's like okay, this is gonna happen. But dude, I'm telling you, as a reader, and I don't know if the rest of you felt this way, but yes. So the wedding doesn't happen. They're all sad. Everyone's leaving and everything, and then you get that great scene of I always forget her name, Selena's friend.
Oh God, yes.
You know, boy, he wrote it. He said, but anyway,
I hate being 41 guys. Things and they're no longer.
You see her going through all the corridors, and she's there at the basement of Arkham or whatever, and that great photo or that great last scene of all these villains and heroes. Thomas Wayne is there as well. What the hell's going on? Skeets is there for Booster Gold. What the hell's going on? And he just got Bane on that throne of skulls or whatever he was sitting on. Just the bat is broken.
It must be so uncomfortable sitting on a throne of skulls. How many skulls do you use butt in?
He had a cushion underneath. He had a donut. All right, I can't sit on the skulls without my donut. All right. They got skull imprints on there, like all these indentations and bumps.
It was great because this is all McKell. I love McKell. He's the best. But he does things. I was like, that's really cool. Because he had the throne of skulls in Santa Prisca, and then we did this, and so there he is. And I don't know if it was in the script or not, but I was like, in the way I was like, he's sitting there, and so he must have taken those skulls from Santa Prisca with him. I don't know if he packed it.
I was going to say, you don't UPS that exactly. Yeah. Charlie, you won't believe what came in the depot today.
Yeah, we got 500 skulls for Arkham here. I don't know. You got to bring them in past security.
Yeah. Oh well, I guess we'll have to bring it to Arkham exactly. Or it's like Bane collecting inmate skulls in Arkham and stuff, and nobody notices. Gee, a lot of cadavers, a lot of missing heads. I'm not sure what's going on. That's fantastic, man.
I tried to make that issue because I knew it was going to be big. I mean, Frank Miller, Tim Lee Weeks. It was Greg Capullo.
All the artists, yes, all the jam pieces.
It was every artist we worked on before, and all the big sort of artists from Batman, Joel and Clay and Mitch and. I love that issue. I'm super proud of it, even though it caused so much consternation.
I hear you, man. Questions, please, folks. Sir, from second row.
My question is, was she really a penguin?
Oh, was Penny really a penguin?
An actual penguin.
Okay, this is the answer my editor gave when the editor-in-chief asked him. My editor said, no. In his head, he projects this upon her, so it's all in Penguin's perception of it. So that's the answer my editor gave. Yeah, no, if she's a fucking penguin, he'd fuck that penguin.
How can she be a penguin? Because you have that little bit later on when the henchmen tell him, her father stopped by and made a scene, he was looking for her. How can she be a penguin?
No, her father's another penguin who's like part of the penguin exhibit.
So how do they know that?
I looked up a lot about penguins and penguin fathers. Penguins live like 25 years, but they're born when they're 1, so their father would be like 26.
So an actual penguin walked into the bar and they assumed he's looking for her.
No, does anyone have the issue? It's not like he walked into the bar. It was just like her father.
He came into the bar and he made a scene, he was looking
No, it didn't say came into the bar. Give me the issue. It said he made a scene, but I don't say he came into the bar.
So how do they know he made a scene?
Oh,
he was looking for his son. He was looking for...
Yeah, exactly.
You ever seen a penguin make a scene? Why
Sure,
penguins are ski makers?
That's why 9 out of 10 bars won't serve penguins.
Yeah, it was a penguin being like, where is my, penguins are like very social animals. It was.
So he was actually married to a penguin.
He married, and he had sex with a penguin.
It was in international waters, so it was okay. Don't worry about it. That's what I'm saying, international waters, man. You can anything can happen.
Fucking
Don't you-
Connecticut is a weird ass state, yo.
Don't?
Do you not know that it's illegal to have
Gotham.
sex with a penguin?
Yeah. It's like the Simpsons when they're in international waters and the sea captain's like, I now pronounce you man and cow. And it's like, okay, that's great. So.
No, it's illegal to have sex.
Well, that was a good question. I like
I'm glad you asked before you leave. That's good.
Sir.
Obviously, the new gods, right? You can't say too much, but can you maybe say some of the characters you're using? I mean, obviously,
No.
Ryan, Promise Miracle, or
No, I can't say anything. Ava has said that, I think she said on Twitter that it wouldn't be a New Gods movie without Darkseid or something like that. I think so. She said that.
like Darkseid Lesser, like that's one thing. The Justice League movie, you can say a lot of bad things about it, but what was that just Steppenwolf instead of?
That wasn't original. That wasn't real Steppenwolf. That wasn't Darkseid's uncle Steppenwolf. Do you think that was? That didn't feel
different. Each time they go out to one of the box, they could have had Calvac do one, Canto do one, instead of Steppenwolf. So hopefully you guys are going to be doing something more of the bad guys too.
I mean, I can say it's very Kirby influenced. Like the whole point of the thing is to pay homage to Kirby because I think this was to him. At least I can't say to him. I can't say that, but in my mind to him is that this was sort of his greatest creation, his magnum opus, sort of. Yeah. So I think if the whole point of the movie is to honor him, because I feel like I used to say he's a founding father of sort of comics, and now he feels like almost like a founding father of modern pop culture. Like I feel like he's like taking over the imaginations of our children, and he's a worthy person. He's this guy who grew up in the ghettos of New York, who became a war hero, who dedicated his life to keeping his family fed by overworking himself to death, basically. And got shat on left, right, and center and kept going. And I think he's to bring that spirit out and to bring his imagination out is the goal of the movie. So I can't say that. But that's like generic problem. You want to actually know the name, so I can't do it.
How about the kid in the back there? Yes, sir.
How does the closing down, I guess, of Vertigo affect any future of the character that?
Whoa, that is a fucking
That's an
inside.
excellent question, son.
That is great. How does it affect? That's a good question. The answer is honestly don't know. I guess if it was to come out again today, it would be called Black Label Sheriff of Babylon or something. That would be my guess. The Sheriff season 2 is written. I've said this many times, and I would only do it with Mitch. And the problem with Mitch is that he's drawing Strange Adventures. So God,
Adam Strange.
But yeah. If we do that again, it would definitely, of course, not be a Vertigo book. But I don't even know if we do it at DC. Depends on the rights. Yeah, depends on the rights. It's a great question. I never even thought of it.
Gentleman in front.
Two-part question. First part has to do with Heroes in Crisis, which I really enjoyed.
I knew there was one guy right there. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And I was looking forward
Can I tell you a Heroes in Crisis story? Interrupt your question.
I was looking forward to it for the longest time, so I enjoyed it when I got it.
Aw.
I'm curious about kind of the origins behind the stories of how it came about, given your military history and everything. And the other part of the question is, in your spin-off from Batman that's forthcoming, Batcat, what can you tell us about it?
Okay, so I'll do the first question first. The Heroes in Crisis was, they were saying we want to do some big event sort of thing, and it didn't turn out to be a big event, so I failed that. But they wanted like something bigger themed, and I didn't want to do something at the end of the universe. I wanted to do something small, and I wanted to do something about. I know it's a shocker, but something about PTSD, something about trauma, something about this generation that I feel that I was a little bit a part of people who've gone through these wars for almost 20 years now and sort of cycled through. And I feel like, I don't know if you noticed, but our society's gotten a little corrosive lately, and I feel like one of those, that's one of the contributing factors of that is the fact that we cycle through these generations of people through this war, and we need to teach those people, not teach them, but accept them for who they are, I think, and thank them for their service and help them through the transition home. And I wanted to write about that, and one of the ways to sort of do that was to be like, because you have this thing inside you, and there's not a good word for it, but it's like the word manly. This idea that like if I can just be stoic and whatever, I can get through this because that's the way when I watch John Wayne or I watch this, like that's the way and I want to be like, no, here are the greatest heroes. Here's Superman, here's Batman, Wonder Woman, they've been through it just like you, and if they seek help, you can seek help too, and it's not a stigma, and so that's where the idea started. The second question on Batcap. What can I tell you? I can tell you I can tell you Clay and I were just walking around the Clay man who's going to draw us, probably the stars of God. We're just walking around, like, you see him plotting it, so I can tell you the whole plot. He literally just turned to me, he's like, so how much am I getting paid for this plot? I was like, oh crap! I'm like, first I gotta pay him for the movie, now I gotta pay him for the thing. It's gonna be a Phantasm, if you guys...
as in Mask of the Phantasm.
As in Mask of the Phantasm is the main sort of big bad, and as I said on John's previous podcast, which I revealed way too much, but the idea is the Mask of the Phantasm, that movie is now going to be in continuity. Like that.
Pretty cool.
Batman had that relationship, and it sort of felt that we had to fight the Joker stuff because Joker doesn't have an origin story that's exactly the same as that movie. But besides that part of it, that'll be continuity, and then it'll sort of be this will be the where was she since the movie will be the big question, and how does that affect Batman's life? And the way we're planning it now, I feel like Batman was always good. It's really good, but it's always been sort of a deadline book, and it has at times, but not consistently reached the heights I did with Vision and Mr. Miracle. And so this is sort of, I'm going to try to reach the heights of those books with Batman for the first time in my career. I'm doing a 12-issue mini with one of my favorite artists, so that's what it is. It's ambitious as Mr. Miracle is, but with Batman, with this plot, yeah. And it's not about trauma and sadness. Oh, it's about sadness, not trauma. Everything's about sadness these days.
From your description, it sounds like it's not in current continuity.
Oh no, it's entirely continuity.
Oh, it is?
Yeah. No, it's the end of my Batman run.
It's the culmination of what he was doing at Batman, but instead of having the bi-weekly commitment, you're able to kind of
so
Batman
the book is going to split into 2 books in January of 2020.
Okay.
It'll split into the regular Batman book, which will sort of deal with DCU events at that time, and Batcat book, which will be the culmination of my story, the culmination of this love story of Batman and Catwoman that I told since issue 9, it was issue 1, and that'll be that'll be the issue 12 of Batcat has this huge moment in it that's going to sort of change everything in the whole DCU. It's major. I don't know if I can know about that. I'm not going to ever say that again. Jesus Christ.
Yes, sir. You.
Thank you. So, I know you can't say too much about the new Gotham, but have you referred back to the original source material a lot when you started writing it?
I mean, yes, but I just wrote Mr. Miracle, so I've already done that process. I went. I find this is completely off topic. I just in rereading all those books, to reread the actual comic books where you get the smell of them, and I find that Kirby was writing not for the traits, because obviously he didn't have traits, but like the way he drew looks better on that ink, on that paper, on that. I just think there's something. So yeah, I've been reading a lot of old late '60s comics, of course. You can't do it without that.
The Gentleman in White.
I was curious, the Batman wedding issue, did you come up with the structure of that story first? Or did you come up with the structure of that story to accommodate the fact that you had that murderer's row of artists? Like which chicken or egg, which came first?
That's a good question. The artist came first because I had the idea because there's a double-sized issue, and I was like, okay, it means that Mikkel, just schedule-wise, Mikkel could drop 20. That means I had 18 other pages. Because the double-sized issue is 38 pages. If that's math.
I was told there'd be no math to it.
Jesus. So I was like, what am I going to do with these 18 pages? And I was like, we can get, he's like, what villain artist do you want? I was like, what if we get a bunch of artists? And the more artists you get, like, what kind of script can we give 18 different artists who are going to do that? And I was like, no, just get 18 artists who are like the best Batman artists in the world, Tim Sale, Jim Lee, Paul Pope, and just tell them to draw a Batman Catwoman image, and then if you give me 18 Batcat splashes and I cross-cut those with Mikkel's stuff, I can figure out how to write that. So that's how it started. And then it was funny because I got the issue in and I had to decide where each slash went. Like, I have my favorite one last. The Lee Weeks one's my favorite one.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So, yeah.
It worked great because it really did feel like almost like these are rushing through both of their minds as they're preparing for the wedding. I thought that was an excellent device.
What was hard about the structure of that issue is that I used for Mikkel's pages. I never talked to Mikkel. We've been working for 5 years. We've only met twice. I was an amazing guy. But for Mikkel's pages, they're all facing pages except for the first and the last one, and they're all parallel pages so that the panel 1 reflects panel 1. That was really hard to write. That was more challenging than this.
Did Mikkel do the Swamp Thing issue as well?
No, that was Mitch. Mitch's one.
Oh, that was Mitch? Oh my God, because that's another one of those great standalone issues. And again, the conversation between Alec and Bruce.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's one of my favorite issues, truly. Sir, the red hat in the front, you had a question.
Yeah, the New Gods movie, is it going to be in canon with the DCU, or is it kind of like the Joker movie where it's just going to be...
Oh, standalone New Gods movie, or is there a DC cinematic universe continuity?
Oh, such a good question and such a non-answer I can give you. But it's a brilliant question. It's great. I love it. I can't. It's not my shit to get away. This is the first. Again, telling you this was the first time I've been involved in something where if I misspeak just slightly, it's like CBR makes it a headline. You know, like someone like I posted a fucking comic book I was reading the other day, just like I'm reading a new, for a thing. Of course it's for Luda, and like 6 websites were like Tom King reads issue 5 of Mr. Miracle. Does this mean there's an A-bomb? This is brand new to me, so I'm just getting used to it. So have some patience. But I appreciate the fantastic question.
Young man in the blue shirt.
What was your favorite part about writing Mr. Miracle?
Ooh, good question.
Mr. Miracle was so fun and so easy to write. It was like putting a knife through butter, but like if that wasn't a cliche metaphor that I could write better. My favorite part of writing that it's just so. Because you could do anything with it. Because the brilliant thing about Kirby is you reach, and I'm discovering this in the New Gods movie too, is like, it's this perfect storytelling world. It's much better than Batman as a storytelling world. In Batman, you're in Batman, and you're like, okay, I want to have a fight. And you're like, okay, I have a rooftop, I have a street, and I have oh shit, I have options. You're like, I want to have a bad guy.
Warehouse.
I can't use Joker because he's in this book. I can't use Two-Face because he's in that book. I can't use Croc because he's in this other book. And when you're in the New Gods world, you reach, okay, I need an assassin. Kanto, holy shit, he's a fucking super assassin. I need a stupid buddy sidekick. Lightning, oh yeah, he sucks. I need that was the most fun, like that world. And you can tell any story. You can tell any story. So like, literally issue 7 is the birth of my first child. It's the birth of Charlie, and beat for beat exactly what happened with him. I was like, I need some crazy in-laws. Oh, of course, the female Furies. Like they're just all there. You reach for something and it's there.
That
was the best part.
Very cool. Sir.
The term of writers comes a story first. Is that a rule?
The terms of the writer. Say it again. Sorry.
You said the writer comes idea first.
Oh, okay. Is that a rule? No. I mean, I've worked on. Sometimes the editor comes up with the idea first. Sometimes the artist comes up with the idea first. Not at all a rule. Yeah. And as a writer, most writers I know prefer to be put in a box. Like, I want you to work with this character on this thing, and then you can be creative. At least that's how I like to work.
All right, we're under 5 minutes. Get in the bat hat.
What's your favorite part about writing Batman?
Favorite part about writing Batman? Oh, God. It was the friends we made along the way. This is the corniest answer, and I'm sorry. Like, I really should say like punching in the face and stuff, and that's cool. But the best part about writing Batman is working with my friends on it. Is like I said, being Clay and I are going to go see a comedy show tonight, and we met on Batman. And I was like one of my best buddies. Working with Mitch is one of my best buddies. Working with my editors, it's making friends. It's stupid. It's such a stupid answer, but it really is the best part.
All right, a lot of hat questions. Sir.
What are the origins of you and Clay's partnership, and how did that start?
Oh.
Batman 24, the engagement issue, we had an artist for it and we lost the artist at the last second. And I was like, holy crap, this has to be a big artist. And I was at a con, and I walked literally, I think it was Orlando, but I'm not sure. I walked down to David Finch, who had done it. I was like, David, can you just draw this one issue? Just this one issue. And he's working on another project. Just one issue. Please, 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 please. It's a big issue. It'll sell a ton. Please, 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 please. And his wife looked at me and looked up. I was like, please, please, please. I was like, you get to draw him on his knees proposing. And David's like, oh, okay. And they were like, he can do 10. And I was like, fuck. Okay, I got 10. I need 10 more pages. And Clay had texted, I have a Facebook meeting. And Christian works together, and I always ignored him because, who wants to work with that guy? But, and Doug, our agent who represents us, was like, how about Clay? And I was like, oh, is he good? And then he showed me some pictures. I was like, I don't think so, but all right. No, and I literally walked down to the other side of the table, and I was like, are you have any interest in just doing these 10 pages? And he's like, oh, cool, I can show them get engaged. No, you have the 10 boring pages, because I already promised
Finch, yeah.
the 10 good pages to Finch. And that's how it started. I walked from one side to the other, and they just happened to be next to me at a con.
That's hilarious. All right, gentleman with the hat back there.
I just wanted to quickly point out, how are you able to write stories whose emotions are so connected, but you're able to give them such humanity and emotion?
I don't know, how do you do the opposite? Right? Like, that would be the harder question. How do you write characters that have no humanity? Aren't you fucking human? I don't know. I guess I wrote robots for Vision, but even they seem to have some humanity.
Oh, absolutely.
This sounds like bragging. It's the opposite of bragging. I'm not competent enough to do it the other way. If I could write, this is an insulting to Rob. If I could write a comic, like Rob Liefeld wrote X-Force #1 and sell 4 million copies, I would fucking do it in a second. But I don't know how to do that.
I hear you, man. Gentleman in the black shirt.
How'd you end up writing something?
So Jason was working on 3 Jokers at the time, and Jeff was working on 6 different TV shows, and he called Jason and was like, I'm not going to hit this deadline or whatever, or he's like, I don't know, some Titan was having a problem, or I don't know what else. But, and so Jason called me, and he's like, can you do something with me? And I was like, what do you want to do? He's like, I want to do Swamp Thing, and there's fighting demons. And I was like, I love Fat because we worked on the button together. And so I called my editor and I was like, can I do this thing with you? Because my editor controls my schedule in terms of making other artists late. So can I do this? He goes, if you can turn, it's like a Wednesday, if you can turn by Friday, you can do it. That way you can hit your deadlines for next week.
Wow. It's 2 days.
Yes, I had 2 days. It's a double-size issue, so it was 38 pages. And I was like, no problem. And I was like, what the hell plots? Like, they fight demons. I was like, they're walking through snow. Because I was like, because Fabok is Canadian. So I was like, Canadians like snow. So I was like, they're walking through snow. And that's why that issue, I cannot believe that issue went Eisner. It literally opens with 4 pages of just good visual image and ends with 4 pages of the same visual image reflected back at each other. And that's because I was like, okay, that's 8 pages, now I only have to write 30. It was very much an improvisation kind of thing. But
that's awesome, man. Jesus.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows what Landon does? It's a mystery to me.
Well, unfortunately, yeah, we're done. I'm sorry, sir, I can't get to your question. I'm
signing it after now.
Yeah, I was going to say, go to Tom's table and ask more questions and stuff. And seriously, if you're at all interested, if you enjoyed what you heard here, Tom comes on Word Balloon every few months, and we have a great conversation just like this. Sometimes, as he's told me on this last episode, he revealed a little more about Adam Strange than maybe he should have. But
yes, and Stupid Batcat.
And Batcat as well. So there's a good 90 minutes at least of us talking about that there at wordballoon.com. But as always, continued success. You're a good friend, and I appreciate you talking to me. And thank you for all the kind things you've ever said about my stuff, and I hope to do the same with yours as we move forward.
If you care about comics, if you want to be a comic book writer, if you want to be a comic book reader, go to Word Balloon. That's my quick answer. It was like, how do I get into comics? How do I write comics? I was like, start there. Just listen to Word Balloon. 100%.
Very kind, man. I appreciate it. Tom King, everybody. There you go. Tom King closes out August for us, just like he opened up August for us. And again, if you didn't listen, check out a great conversation with Neil Adams from 2005, kind of giving his origin story. Really interesting stuff about his early years at DC, the things he was doing before he got to DC, things like his comic strips and working at Warren on creepy and eerie monster stories. Pretty neat stuff. And, believe it or not, his first couple assignments at DC, Bob Hope and Jerry Lewis comic books. Are you kidding me? Absolutely. Really great conversation with Neil Adams. It's one of my favorites, and it was one of the ones from my first year here at Word Balloon. I'm happy to share with you again the other episode that dropped today. Word Balloon brought to you by the League of Word Balloon listeners via Patreon. If you like what you hear on Word Balloon and you want to support the cause and subscribe to Word Balloon, go to patreon.com/wordballoon. Word Balloon is also brought to you by Aftershock Comics. They're having a hell of a year. And they've got brand new books like Phil Hester's Stronghold and Tim Seeley's Dark Red to put alongside things like Garth Ennis's Walk Through Hell and Jimmy's Bastards and Marguerite Bennett's Animosity and all of Cullen Bunn's great output like Dark Ark and the Brothers Dracul and now the Night Temporal. Unbelievable stuff. Great genre-bending stories that feature incredible creators, incredible concepts. I hope you'll check out some Aftershock comic books. It's easy to do that, and first of all, here at Word Balloon, because they're a sponsor, we'll be continuing to talk to Aftershock creators about their great books. But go to their website, you'll find full story descriptions, preview pages, and the diamond codes on how to order these books through your local shop at AftershockComics.com. Thanks, it's been a great August. It's going to be an excellent September, a September to remember. I just got back from Terrificon at the beginning of the month. Well, guess what? In less than 2 weeks, I'll be at Rose City in Portland. Cannot wait. So many of my friends are out in Portland. The Ruckas, the Bendises, the Fractions, the Deconics, the Parkers. Man, I'm hoping to see Matt Wagner. I'm hoping to finally meet Michael Lark. I see Michael's going to be there. I'm hoping to finally meet Kelly Thompson. I know she's going to be out there. Gail Simone, I'm hoping will be out there, and I'm hoping to have her sit down for a conversation. And I'll bring you coverage from my Portland excursion, but also do a lot of networking. I always say, like, when I'm at a convention, I feel like I'm running for mayor because I'm meeting creators for the first time, and I'm getting to know them, and I'm handing them cards and trying to set up future conversations. And I'll be doing that a lot at Rose City in Portland. If you're going, please come by and say hello. That was one of the best things about Terrificon. Meeting a lot of other Word Balloon listeners, League of Word Balloon listeners, as well as just listeners that enjoy the show. And of course, hey man, there's no difference. You can support the show just by telling your friends, hey, I'm listening to this great comic book podcast. You should listen to it too. So cannot wait. Less than 2 weeks. I'll have a full voice by then. But I hope you enjoyed what you got in August. And like I said, lots of great stuff coming in September. Until then, it'll start right after Labor Day on Tuesday. 2 brand new shows coming your way to start things off for September. But until then, Word Balloon is a copyright feature of Shaky Productions, copyright 2019.